Happy Friday and welcome to today's episode of Friday Tech Bites. I'm Rick Vanover from Veeam, and good afternoon, Kirsten. How are you?
I'm doing good, Rick. Having a little fear of missing out from not being at the conference this last day. So I hope you're having a good time in Halifax. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great, and that's a good reminder. We are broadcasting live from the Atlantic Security Conference in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. That's right. And Kirsten and I will get to the story here in a second. She's still in Ohio. I'm in Canada. Our producer is in Romania. Our other producer is in Georgia. But we want to know where you are watching from. So I believe we're live now on 4 streams. So of the ones that you can interact with, drop in your either U.S. state or your country, and we will light up the application. And Kirsten, I don't think I'm going to be able to beat the application that you guys had last week when the ladies took over for World Backup Day.
Yeah, that was really fun, a fun time we had. The map was almost all green. I was talking to Ksenia. I was like, are we going to go all green today? And we almost got there.
Yeah, that was a great show. Great show. Good work on that. So we are at Veeam, or at the Atlantic Security Conference event in Halifax. But kind of a funny story. Kirsten, tell us what happened. Why aren't you here?
Oh, so I was supposed to be there, but on Wednesday night, our flight got canceled in Columbus. And we were like, how are we going to get to Halifax? I asked Rick, can we drive there? He was like, no, that's too long. So we basically, Rick got rebooked on the next flight out for the following day because Ohio and Columbus, our airport's pretty small. I don't know if anybody's been to the CMH, but they only had one flight to Toronto. So
yeah, it was we got trapped in that regard. I mean, there were other airlines and stuff, and luckily, now, Kirsten, we have 2 people here in Halifax for Veeam, so they were able to. I'm waving at them right now; they're downstairs, but they were able to kind of hold the ship down, so to speak. And maybe tonight I'll be standing on a Halifax pier. We'll see.
Oh,
but
make sure you take a picture of that Halifax pier.
Yeah, I will. It's a great part of the country for those of you in North America. If you guys haven't been to the Canadian Maritimes, you're missing out. It's a really interesting part of the country, or part of the continent, really. But yeah, so the way it ended up playing out is that I just decided to carry on and go because I had a speaking session, and that's kind of what I wanted to highlight from this session. So let's go ahead and pivot over to the slides. Believe it or not, I did prepare something. So Kirsten and I both are in the product strategy team, and ATL SecCon, that's the name of the event. They have a pretty cool logo. I think, Kirsten, even at your desk in the office, you still have one of the signs or the badges or something, right?
Yeah, I do. And actually, I have my water cup here, but I have my Atlantic Security Conference mug. And I was like, oh, I should have, planned this better so I could be, with my mug over here. They have a cool logo. Their logo is pretty cool.
This is good community. So those of you interested in IT security, I really, if you're anywhere reasonable to come, this is a great event. But, a lot of people might ask, why would you talk about backups at this type of event? And I guess I should highlight, first of all, why did I pivot to this whole different PowerPoint? Is it livery or livery? I don't know, Kirsten. I think it's livery. Is it? Do you know the word?
I've never been good with pronouncing words.
I think it's livery. But anyways, I like the organ.
Okay. Livery.
Okay, livery. Anyways, but this event, I entered the public call for presentations, so it's not a quote-unquote Veeam pitch. But what I did do, and that's whenever I go quote-unquote rogue, when I go community and thought leading, I don't use the Veeam PowerPoint template, right? Because I want it to be very open. But, Kirsten, you've been to this event a few times as well. Why is backup relevant for the cybersecurity crowd?
Well, because backup is protecting your data, and with making sure your data is secure, you need to make sure that one of the factors is that it's available to those who need it and when you need it, right? That's part of the triad. And that's kind of where, Veeam can help you make sure that data is available. But also when you're setting up your security strategy, your cybersecurity strategy, you don't want to forget about your backups and that backup storage. You might think, oh yeah, our production data is safe, but then what if something happens to, that other side of your data center, right?
Yeah, exactly. And all of the big established frameworks, the old school CIA triad, the new school NIST cybersecurity framework, the other school CIS controls, they all have a provision for where backup sits. So the availability triad, interestingly, this version of the CIA triad has it as one. The protect and recover part of the NIST framework, those align to backup and recovery. And then the sys controls, number 13, data protection, right? So it's really prescribed to be, making up a word here, a natural adjacency to the different cybersecurity disciplines, right? And what we say here at Veeam is that secure backup is your last line of defense, right? So it's kind of like when everything else fails, Kirsten, wouldn't it be nice if we had a great backup?
Yes, for sure. So while we're on this slide, and you've been at this event now, and I know you know a lot about cybersecurity. What's some of the advice that you would give somebody who, the latest advice in cybersecurity from your opinion, Rickatron?
Well, I'm seeing a lot more focus on the cloud this year. And there's a couple of reasons why, Kirsten. Well, for one, this event was canceled in 2020. It was canceled in 2021. So it was very interesting to walk back into an established cybersec community with a 3-year, I don't want to say pause, but a 3-year bridge, a gap from their current best practices and the like, right? So I see a lot more cloud. And that also goes into what we talk about here at Veeam very well. So there was definite progression in that area. And you think about it year to year, not so much, but a 3-year data point, a 3-year like time bias, that was actually rather significant. That was my big observation.
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially, yeah, I feel like since 2020, the cloud adoption has very much sped up. And that's a good point that you made, Rick, about that.
Yeah. And one of the other kind of angles that I try to bring to this group to talk about the cybersecurity and the backups. Have you ever seen me give this analogy here, Kirsten? Have you ever heard this
Yes,
talk?
yes, yes, I
I won't
have.
put you on the spot, but I know you've heard it. But let's see if it still resonates. So, by the way, every time we do a stream with Kirsten, she has to be ready for me to throw something on her. She's always on her A game, that's for sure. Um, so I a lot of times I kind of start the conversation with backups in the context of, think of these people that are walking here and think of that as your production data. And a lot of times the InfoSec professional puts a lot of controls on the primary copy of the data, the main instance, right? Everything from access control, encryption, confidentiality, all these other, detection, all these other disciplines that go into cybersecurity. A lot of that is placed on the human, right? So this is the analogy. But my angle is that the same data exists in the shadows and it can be bigger. So that's why the shadows are kind of a long tail for each of these people. And like some of these humanoids here, they have shorter shadows and some of them have longer shadows. And that is because some workloads have more retention when it comes to data, more copies, and some have shorter, and actually maybe some have none. The whole something with no backup phenomena, right? So I think that this is a way to kind of illustrate that the same data in production really is in scope for some of this cybersecurity awareness when it comes to backups, and then also recovery and more. Does that make sense to you, Kirsten?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. You don't want to when thinking about security, you really need to think about the overall, data journey. Make sure everything is secure, and the only way that you can have access to that data is if you're meant to have access to that data.
Indeed.
And on that point, the map is ready. So let's switch to the map. And this is where you guys are at. So we have some people in Nevada, Washington, Georgia, Texas, Romania, Turkey, Brazil, Egypt, Madagascar, Kenya, and Mauritius.
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 Teeny tiny dot out there. So that might be a first on Mauritius and India.
And India, yes. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for joining us. I'm happy that you're here. I love seeing where you guys are from every week, and continue to put those locations in the chat.
We might have broke the internet, Kirsten.
We did?
I don't know. In Europe was kind of underrepresented comparatively. We had Turkey pop in there, but I don't know. Just see what's going on. So back to cybersecurity from the application. One of the things, Kirsten, I think is an important conversation that I take to the cybersecurity professionals is making sure that they understand how the backup professionals work. And one of the things that is a household practice, best practice in the backup world is this thing. Why don't you explain this for the audience?
Yeah, so this is the 3-2-1 rule, which we've actually expanded into the 3-2-1-1-0 rule. And really, this should be the standard requirement, but you also need to think, like in some situations, you want to maybe go above and beyond this rule. So this basically is saying to us, you should have 3 different copies of data, which are on 2 different media types. One which is off-site, whether it's in, the cloud, maybe you're taking it to tape, and then one that's offline or air-gapped. So think about immutable storage. And then lastly, 0 errors in recovery. So not only do you need to make sure you're backing up your data, it's also even more important to make sure that you can restore that data as well, because your backup is only as good as your recovery.
Yeah, that's a good point. And when I talk to cybersecurity professionals about the 3-2-1-1-0 rule, Kirsten, it kind of is somewhat of an eye opener because they think of production data and they think of backups. They don't necessarily think of the DR, or they might think of DR, but then they don't know maybe that storage teams are doing snapshots underneath and putting them somewhere else as well. And I'm not saying this is bad. I'm just saying cybersecurity professionals need to be aware of this. And it's somewhat of a educational bit, right? Because when it comes to cybersecurity responses, right? We here at Veeam say that secure backup is your last line of defense. And I would go one step further to say that the most effective way to drive data recovery in a cybersecurity response incident, usually things like ransomware, the most effective specimen to drive recovery is a copy of your backup data that's either offline, air-gapped, or immutable. And I made up a word, ultra resilient. Any one of those storage media that meet that criteria, offline, air-gapped, or immutable, would be an ultra resilient media. And, Kirsten, I know we talked to a lot of people about a lot of things, but what are some of the popular offline, air-gapped, and immutable types of storage media that Veeam people adopt?
That's a good question. I would say I see a lot of people still using tape, even though there was a couple years ago, people said, tape might be dead.
That might be.
But like tape is one of those technologies or storage technologies or storage options that allows you to store data on it, and then you just pop it off and you send it off to something like, Iron Mountain or anything like that. Immutable storage, you think about S3 object lock. I see a lot of customers utilizing that capability as well, along with something, like how Veeam introduced the hardened repository feature as well. So you can have that hardened repository immutable on premises or locally, and then send your backups to something like S3 object lock in the cloud for that long-term storage potentially, or for any other reason that I can't come to mind right now. So
well, you want the offsite part.
Yeah.
And you walked right into it, Kirsten, without me even asking. what you just described right there is drawing up the 32110 rule with with a implementation that had two different copies of those immutable backups, and that's right here. That's what I call double play immutability. So it's the spring, it's baseball season. Kirsten, who's your team? I already know the answer though.
The Cleveland Guardians.
That's
Duh.
right. Same team. Yeah, the Guardians. I don't really have a team. I guess just because I'm representing, I'll root for the Blue Jays here because I'm in Canada today. But take the baseball part aside. One of the things I'm trying to propose to the industry as by the way, big hello to Anders, also joining us from Canada. Thank you. One of the emerging best practices I'm trying to get the market to stick with is what I call double play immutability. So it's an interesting way to kind of configure the 32110 rule with two different copies that are immutable as part of the mix. So, what you described there, Kirsten, I guess would be the first bullet point, 32120. What's your kind of first take on double play immutability?
I think that it's going to help make sure that your data remains unchanged for that specified period of time. If you're not using mutability, that means someone can go and delete your backups, delete that data. And we don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that we have that, we know our data is being stored and it's also being unchanged and not modified. So that's what I would say about that.
Well, and two copies of it, that is just, I like to say, by the simple mathematics, you're giving very high confidence that you can drive data recovery in a cybersecurity response incident, especially something like ransomware, because both of those copies are immutable. And I'd go one step further, and I'd recommend that when you have these multiple copies, have them encrypted, especially something in the public cloud. If you're putting backup data into the public cloud, I'm recommending to people to encrypt those backups. Do you know that little expression I like to say in that regard, Kirsten? Have you heard me say that? No. No, it's just a one-liner, but I like to say encrypt your data in the cloud or someone else will do it for you.
Oh, I don't think you've used that one for me yet.
It's kind of new. I just kind of came up with it last night, but no, just teasing. But it's one of those things that I think these double play configurations, if you have immutable copies that are also encrypted with your own encryption control, like say a Veeam encryption password, again, you have a very high confidence of driving data recovery in that scenario. And there's so many ways to do it. The middle one does the same thing, but also sends it off to tape. And that's actually more of a 4-3-1-3-0 type of, actually it might be a 4-3-2-4, whatever. It's just very resilient when you have additional copies. So, whatever the pieces and parts you have, how do you want to build that? So that's good stuff.
Yeah, so before we move on, let's go back to the map real quick.
Oh, well, is it ready? Oh, it is ready.
Yeah, okay. It's ready. Let's say hello to our friends. We have another in Canada. We have some people joining us in Florida, New York, Massachusetts. If we switch down to South America, we have Argentina. And then we have some more people joining us from Egypt. And then we also have Iran with us today. So thank you for joining.
I think we broke Europe. I'm totally sure of that.
It must be a special Friday in Europe or something that we don't know about.
Potentially. But no, thank you all for watching. We love lighting this up, and we're kind of running out of places in the world to get new viewerships from, but Mauritius was a nice one. So thank you all for that. Oh, you know what we should get, Kirsten? We got to get Antarctica. We got to get it. It's got to be a goal, because I know Veeam is running, by the way, in Antarctica. So
wow.
Literally, it's on all continents, but there is data protected in some of the. I can't disclose the client, but it's in Antarctica. So that's good stuff. Awesome. So, Kirsten, we're busy. We got the weekend coming up, but what's this other thing that's kind of happening up?
Veeam 2022. We're getting ready here at Veeam for Veeam 2022. This is Veeam's customer and partner event. If you haven't registered, be sure to register now. And you have a limited time. You can get $400 off registration price for the in-person portion until April 12th. So you have, a couple more days here. But we also will have a virtual as well available for you, and that will be offered for free. You can access it from anywhere, but we would love to see you in person. I know I love talking to our customers and seeing all your beautiful faces at Veeam. So make sure you come out to Vegas and check it out.
Yeah, so I know we did a different Veeam preview episode, but a couple other things. I mean, we've got it's actually more than 65 sessions at this point. I don't know if they'll update that, but we've got a full gamut of sessions and breakout content. I know, Kirsten, I put you on the hook for a lot this year, so I appreciate you in that regard. Some Veeam stuff, some orchestrator stuff. Any other stuff you're working on for the event?
Top secret stuff, duh.
Top secret stuff, including actually, I'll let everyone know in a vague way, but we have something really special planned for Kirsten and what we're going to be doing, and everybody will see it. So I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, you just go on over to veeam.com, and Hemant asks about, please provide us trading academy. Oh, good one, Hemant. If you go to your favorite search engine and just search for Veeam University, I'll just do it right here. If you go to Veeam University, you can get free on-demand training. Hopefully that is a good start for you, Hemant. If you'd like, it's pretty good and accessible. Just go to Veeam University. Awesome. Well, Kirsten, hey, thank you so much for joining me here on Friday Tech Bites yet again.
Yes, it's been great. And before we go, I just want to talk about our next stream. Will be on Monday, April 11th. It'll be our Industry Insights series. And you'll be able to hear from Jason Buffington and Melissa Palmer about how BCDR needs to change for 2022. So it's more data protection report data, and it's going to be a really good show. So I hope that you can tune into that.
Yeah, we're not going to have a show a week from today. For one, I'll be flying, but two, we've got a holiday, and so we'll amp up the schedule after that. And so, yeah, looking forward to some great content. And big thanks to our producers, Mark in Atlanta, and another big thanks to our other producer, Katie and Amia in Romania. So thank you so much again, Kirsten. Always a pleasure. Too bad you couldn't join us out here in Halifax this week.
Yes. I hope you have a good night. I heard that, you're going to do some axe throwing later.
Yeah, well, I have to be careful. I thought the backup people knew how to party. Okay. The security people know how to party. I mean, I got to be careful. I got a rule. Nothing good happens after 10 p.m. But they've got axe throwing, and I got to be a good boy. But I should do fine in that regard. But thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, everyone, for watching. That concludes our stream, and have a great weekend.